You're good.
All right, Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here. This is also the weekend, in addition to being Shabbat, where we celebrate the bar mitzvah of Renan Pincus. However, Renan is not in the room at the moment, but he will be here, and he will be leading a few things. And we're going to start with a song that honors him, even though he won't be here to hear it. So it's on page 3, Lechu Neranana. Come, let us sing. It's the same word, Renan, Neranana. Lechu Neranana, Neranana, Ladonai Naria, Naria, Letzor Yishenu. Lechu Neranana, Neranana, Ladonai Naria, Naria, Letzor Yishenu. Nekarma Fana Betoda, Izmiro Narialo, Kiel Gadol Adonai, Umelech Gadol Al Kol Elohim, Lechu Neranena, Neranena, Ladonai Naria, Naria, Letzor Yishenu, Lechu Neranena, Neranena, Ladonai Naria, Naria, Letzor Yishenu. Let's jump to page 12, Romamu. A double mem instead of a double nun. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu Veishtachavu Behar Kodsho. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu Veishtachavu Behar Kodsho. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romamu. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romamu. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu Veishtachavu Behar Kodsho. We're going to turn to page 13. I'm abbreviating the Kabbalat Shabbat because I'm going to be talking a little more than I normally do on a Friday night. Yizmor leTavim, Avol Adonai Bnerim, Avol Adonai Kavod Vaos, Ay Ay Ay, Avol Adonai Kevod Shema Mishpachav Adonai Behadron Kodesh, Kol Adonai Al Hamayim El Hakavod Hirim, Adonai Al Mayim Rabim, Kol Adonai Ba'akova, Ay Ay Ay, Kol Adonai Ve'adar, Kol Adonai Shover Harazim, Vayshaver Adonai Et Arze Alvanon, Vayarkirem Ke'emo'egem Lebanon Ve'esirion Kemo Ben Re'imim, Ay Ay Ay, Kol Adonai Kotev Lavon Esh, Kol Adonai Yachil Midbar, Yachil Adonai Midbar Kadesh, Kol Adonai Yechol El Ayalo, Vayecheso Ye'emarot, U'epalo Kulo Merkavot, Ay Ay Ay, Adonai Lama Hu Yashava Yeshev, Adonai Melech Le'olam, Adonai Yos Le'amo Yiten, Adonai Yevarech Et Amo V'Shalom. Hey, Yai, Yai, Nai, 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 Yai, Nai, 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 Yai, Nai, 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 Yai, Nai, 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 15. Page 15. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ונשמה לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ונשמה לקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשמו תפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ונשמה לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, ונשמה לקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת לקבלה. Bottom 17. ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, את אדוני תריצי, על יד איש בן פרצי, ונשמחה ונקילה. לה 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 דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת לקבלה. We rise and face the entrance, welcoming the Shabbat bride. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך יחונן על ספולה. בואי כלה, בואי כלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, פני שבת לקבלה. We say to any mourners in our midst, Hamakom lechem b'tok shavlei tzion b'Yerushalayim. May God comfort you with all the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. We can be seated. We're on page 19. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. Shabbat, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. Continue silently, 1920. צדיקת המרי נברח, כארז בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו, עוד ינובון בסבע, לשמים ורעננים קירות מבש, לבש ארוני עשית הזר, אף תיקון תבל ואל תימוד, בכל כיסך מאשמם, אתה יישאו נרות אדוני, נשאו נרות כולם, יישאו נרות דוב ים. מכל עוד מים רבים אדירים, משברי ים, אדיר במרום, אדוני. ערותיך נהנו מאוד, לביתך נאמן, קודש אדוני, לאורך ימים. Please rise briefly for the Baruch Hu, call to prayer. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai Vorach Leolam Va'ed. We can be seated. Baruch At Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bivaro mariva ramim. We're on page 23 if you're just arriving. V'yom v'layla kavod mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or. V'yom v'layla mavdil ben yom u'ben layla Adonai to'od shelo. Chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch At Adonai Amari V'Ramim. 24. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Aveta Amcha Aveta. Eloheinu b'shochbeinu, kumeinu nesiach v'chukecha, v'nismach v'divrei toratecha, u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, Page 25, we invite the brother of the bar mitzvah to come on up, Matan. He's going to lead us in Shema Ve'ahavta, page 25.
Shema
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema
continue silently 27 through 29. תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים אלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם באמת אדוני אלוהיכם אמת טוב רצון קיבלו עליהם, משה בני ישראל חנשיבה בשמחה רבה, ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר וקודש, נורתי לו עושה פלא נורא תגידו עושה דהרון לך בוקע ים לפני משה תאלי ועמלו אדוני ימלוך ועולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל מי כמוך באלים אדוני כמוך נהדר וקודש נורא עושה פלא נורא תגידו עושה פלא נורא תגידו עושה פלא 33 עמידנו מלכנו לחיים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום עמידנו מלכנו לחיים שמור צאתנו Start on this side of the room. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom. Hashkivenu Eloheinu Lishalom. Hashkivenu Malkeinu Lechaim. Please rise for the Shamru, Covenant of Shabbat, page 34. And Brennan, don't go too far, wherever you are. You're up next. Shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. ביני ובין ישראל עוד תהיה And we call upon our bar mitzvah Renan to lead us.
Ikada v'ikada shmei Rabba. Ikada v'ikada shmei Rabba. Amen. B'alma divra chirotei v'yamlich malchutei v'chaye chod uvyom echod uv'chaye bechod beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uv'izban tari v'immeru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach. יתברך וישתבח ויתבר ויתאמן ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי קדושה נהנה מכל ברכתה בשירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן.
Private Amidah now, pages 37 through 48. Say shalom v'romav. Uyase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael immeru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'meru. Amen. All right, we're going to turn to the Matbeah Tefillah, the essence of the Amidah, the shorter version that we do only on Friday night. And I'm going to let Jacqueline sit for this one, but I want to thank her for leading the last 2 weeks in my absences. What was that? Oh, Susan did the whole service the week before? Oh, nice, okay. Did I know that? Oh, hey and Bob, yes, of course. So, yes, so 1 week, but still. There'll be many more opportunities this summer. ויפלו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה וישבוק ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. Adonai, Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor V'Hanora, El Elyon, Kodei Shamayim V'Haaretz, Magen Avon V'Haro, V'Chayei Meitim V'Mano, Hakadosh She'ein Kamohu, Ameniach, Yom Shabbat Kodsho, Ki Vam Ratza Lehaniach Lahem, Ki Vam Ratza Lehaniach Lahem, Lefanav Navo B'Yira V'Fachad, V'Nodeh Lishmo B'Chol Yom Tamid, Me'ein Habrachot, Shalom, Mekadesh HaShabbat, Umevarech Shemihi, Umeniach B'Kedusha, Yamid Kedusha Oneg, Zecher Lemase Bereshit, Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu Ritzei, V'Nuchatenu, Kachenu b'mitzvotecha, v'ten chelkenu b'toratecha, Saveinu b'tuvecha, v'samchenu b'shuatecha, v'tahir libeinu, v'yavdecha be'emet, v'hanchidenu, Adonai Eloheinu, v'yava Shabbat Kodshecha, Yanuchu B'Yisrael, Mekadesh Shemecha, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Kaddish Shalom, page 53, Renan once again.
יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה, ועל מה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, וחי יכול וביום יכול וחי בכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. ויהי שמי רבה מבורך, ועל יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי קודשה לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה ושתחת ונחמת אדם אירן ועמה ואמרו אמן. תתקבץ אל תהון ובאר תהון לכל ישראל קודם עבורון דמשמיא ואמרו אמן. יהא שמם הרבנית שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום לבניו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Thank you, Renan. We look forward to much more tomorrow. All right, so normally I do not give a sermon on a Friday night, but as I explained in the email tonight, I am going to, and I headlined the email, Abortion and COVID this Shabbat, or something equally horrific. And somebody told me it was both the best and the worst headline they've ever seen, because it was exactly what I wanted to say, but it's not a very delicate way of putting it. Just I'll start with the COVID and get that out of the way. As most of you know already, I had COVID. I had an extremely mild case. Baruch Hashem, God protected me and the congregation in a sense, because I could not have timed it better. I was finished with it just in time to travel to Columbus, Ohio for my son Mike's graduation from college from The Ohio State University. And yes, it was very exciting, a lot of fun. And I didn't have to miss anybody's bar bat mitzvah. I mean, I'm sad that I missed the 5th grade Share Shabbat and Kitab Av Shabbat as well. That's too bad. I would have liked to have been there, but still, these were things that Susan capably can do without me, so it was timed perfectly. But enough of that. While I was gone during those 2 weeks, we all read about the leak of the Supreme Court case that Roe v. Wade will likely be overturned. And I felt, even though I address politics quite minimally compared to most rabbis, particularly outside of Orthodoxy, I felt like I needed to address this. It needed to be addressed from the pulpit, and from this pulpit in particular. So I'm going to do that. And I know that many of you would like me to just simply say, my body, my choice. It's a woman's right to choose, or talk about right-wing conspiracies, or talk about the secrecy with which this was done, or any other such things. And I may agree with that and feel those things as a private citizen, but that's not what a rabbi should be doing, in all honesty. I may think these things as a person, as an individual, but my job is to talk about how it affects us Jewishly. And so that's what I'm going to do, and it's not even going to be very long. But I believe, I'm going to give you 4 particular reasons, I'm sure there are more, why it is traditionally Jewish to be quite fearful of what is coming and to be massively against the legal overturning of Roe versus Wade. It is not as simple as my body, my choice, and a woman's right to choose, but there are 4 major Jewish reasons why this is a disaster. I want to start with halachically. First, life begins in Judaism at birth, or more specifically, when the body is halfway out. How you judge that, of course, is impossible. But still, the idea is it begins at birth. And how do we get this? We get it from Exodus 21:22, Parshat Mishpatim, when 2 men are fighting. One of them pushes the other into a woman who happens to be pregnant. She miscarries. And what happens? He owes money and a fine. Now, if you've read the Torah, a whole bunch of things are punishable by death, okay? Right? You break Shabbat, death. Gay or lesbian, death. Talk back to your parents, death. Okay, we'd all be dead. But in this case, it's not death, it's a fine. So from there, we know that Jewish law does not consider the fetus to be a life. And they go through this throughout the Mishnah, the Talmud, and later law codes, and there's a quote about, just like water for the first 40 days. And, it's kind of a life at 7 months, but still not a full life until the baby emerges, is halfway out. I'm not going to get into the real nitty-gritty halachic specifics about it, but that's what you get. Now, you should not draw from that that Judaism, particularly traditional Judaism, is pro-abortion or even necessarily pro-choice. You may wish it to be, but that is not really true because it's still a potential for human life, and you will often have different Orthodox groups submitting documents to the court that are more on the pro-life side than on the pro-choice side. But because it's not murder, you also will not find them standing outside of Planned Parenthood, saying abortion is murder. Digress for just a moment, which is that for those to whom it is murder, we're speaking different languages, okay? And you have to understand that where the rallies we go to and the articles we write, the editorials we read, all those things, we're really speaking different languages, and to them it is a mitzvah, right? So it's not as easy as it seems. But still, if you're talking halachically, in Judaism, life does not begin at conception. That's number one. Number two, freedom of religion. Overturning the Supreme Court case violates, in my opinion, freedom of religion, including, especially our religion. There is potential in the way that this could be read, and the way that I think the Texas law or whatever reads, that I could be put in jail for advising someone to follow Jewish law, right? Health of the mother takes precedent, and Reform Judaism and even conservative Judaism has taken that to be even the psychological health of the mother. Or for whatever reason, I explain why Judaism believes that this fetus should be aborted, I could be put in jail for following my religion. And so could any of you. All right, so it violates freedom of religion, specifically the Jewish religion, and that's the second piece. Third, pikuach nefesh, the saving of a human life. Now I realize this is a little tricky because if you view the unborn child, as those who are pro-life call it, as a life, it's something. But I believe, and I know many of you do too, that ending the legality of abortion in this country endangers the actual lives of many women. I mean, I'm not talking about injury, I'm talking about life or death, because people are still going to get abortions, they're just not going to do it as safely. That's a tremendous problem. Number 4, historically, we know that when certain rights are taken away, when there's an attack on rights, particularly when those rights are the rights, when we're talking about a minority against a majority, because the majority of Americans want abortion to be legal, it never stops with those particular rights. Other rights get violated. Doors and windows are open, and that's a frightening prospect for Jews as we look at how we've done throughout history. I'll restate those in a moment, but I want to give a fifth Jewish spin on this, which will be very bizarre and may only be interested to the lawyers and the Talmudists in the room. It reminds me of the Karaites, this whole thing. Now, what is that, you say? The Karaites are a sect within Judaism that formed in something like the 900s, who didn't believe in the Talmud, essentially. They believed theoretically only in the written Torah. Okay, so the oral law had no precedence. And they would call themselves, in today's Supreme Court language, strict constructionists. They wanted to strictly stick to the text, or even originalists, right? The original Torah. And a lot of these judges ran, I know they don't really run, but you know what I mean, on the idea that they were strict constructionists. And now, this kind of seems like legislation. Well, the Karaites were exactly the same thing, okay? Like, you think, they don't believe in the Talmud, they stick to the text. But the problem is, when you look at the Torah text, almost every line begs some kind of interpretation. And that's what these supposedly strict constructionists are doing too. It's still an interpretation, right? There's no such thing exactly, right? Everyone's going to stretch it, it just depends how. And if you actually read Karaite literature, it's totally bizarre. Their interpretations are wilder than the Talmud's in some cases. We don't like to think of it that way, but if you actually read it, you will see that. They're completely wild, totally out of left field sometimes. So maybe others aren't thinking in those terms, but when I think of this whole strict versus loose constructionist debate, I'm constantly thinking of the Karaites. And I should add that how did the Karaites begin? I mean, that whole strict, loose constructionist was only part of the story. One guy didn't get the job of Exilar. His brother got it. And he got mad and he formed his own sect. Okay, look it up. It's Anan ben David or something like that. Anyway, so there we go. Those are the 4 reasons that I am opposed as a rabbi and as a Jew, and scared as a Jew of the possibility of Roe v. Wade being overturned. The first is that halachically life begins at birth in Judaism, which leads to the second, which is that our freedom of religion may be violated. The third, pikuach nefesh, the saving of human lives. More people will die. And fourth, historically, that when rights are taken away, it never stops with those particular rights. Now, I wish that I could tell you what to do, right? That really, I'm just inform it, right? And explain it. What are we supposed to do about this? And for the most part, that's for others to determine. Maybe it's protesting in the streets. Maybe it's legal challenges. For sure, for me, should it come to pass, the one thing that I would want to do and be most involved with is helping to fundraise and just set up things that allow people to travel from out of state to places where it's safely. Like, that's one action that I believe can actually save human lives and that can be productive and effective. For the others, that's for others to decide. So that's my sermon, my rare sermon for Friday night. And even though, and I'm about to tell you, to do as I say and not as I do. It's only because it's been 2 weeks and I didn't get to talk about it. Don't talk about it all the time, all right? Give yourselves a break at Shabbat, okay? And you can talk about it if you want, but you'll be talking about it plenty. Try to enjoy Shabbat. Try to enjoy this beautiful bar mitzvah of Ren and Pincus. Try to take a pause and live that way too. Shabbat Shalom. Baruch Tiyeh. We're going to rise now for Kiddush, and we're going to invite Odette and Darren and Brennan and Baton to come up for the Kiddush. Page 55. And I'm warning you, it's great. Come all the way around here. Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei b'riat ha'afen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishach b'mitzvotav v'ratzah b'anu, v'shabbat kodesho v'amal ratzon nifilanu, zikaron l'ma'aseh b'reishit, ki yom techilah v'mikrayei kodesh. Zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, Ivanu b'charta, V'otanu kiddashta, Mikol ha'amim, V'shabbat kodeshecha, V'yahava u'ratzon, Infaltanu, Mekadesh. Drink it, share it around.
We're fine.
At this time, if you are with someone you feel comfortable blessing, particularly if you have children here, which is at the moment just you and back. Yisimcha Elohim, Ephraim B'Kim Menashe, Yisimech Elohim Kasar, Rivka Rachel B'Leah, Yivrecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Yer Adonai p'nav elecha v'yichunecha, Yisar Adonai p'nav elecha v'yisem lecha shalom. May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May God lift his divine face toward you and grant you peace. Amen. You can go back to your seats. We're going to remain standing for the Aleinu. 57. Aleinu l'shavei ha'adon ha'kol, la'tein la'leotzer b'reishit, shelo atzanu k'goyei ha'ratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo samu chelkeinu kahem, v'gomor aleinu k'chol ha'monam. Morim, u'mishkachavim modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu notei shamayim v'yosei haaretz, u'Moshe v'yikarov l'shamayim mima'al, u'shchinatu zot, v'gafei meromim, Hu Eloheinu en Erod, Kakatu b'torato, v'yadata yom v'hashivota, El levavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, v'shamayim mima'al, v'haaretz mitachat eino. כתוב בתורת החיים לך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו Be seated as we lovingly recall the memory of our departed relatives and friends whose yardsticks we observe during the coming week. We're thinking especially tonight of Irene Ballant, James Kraft, Elaine Ehrenkranz, Clarice Ackrish Fanning, Betty Gittimer, Annie Grutman, David Harris, Stephen Kaplan, Joe Karen, Gussie Castles, Eunice Kelly, Olga Kjelsberg, Stanley Korn, Ethel Kronik, Howard Levy, Samuel Lichtenstein, Joyce Oppen, Alan Pressman, Gloria Reed, one of the sweetest, smiliest ladies you'll ever meet, Arnold Rosenthal, Samuel Schecht, Bernard Schreiber, Rebecca Schulman, Rose Schwartz, Paul C. Sr., Bernard Senser, Charles Silverstein, Charles Silver, Gertrude Weiss, Louis Waxman, Manuel Wasserman, Hasida Sita Wittenberg, Stephen Wittenberg, and we're in the Shloshim for Janet Gordon, the mother of Kathy Burge.
Also my father, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Sid Sandberg.
Sid Sandberg. May all those who wish to rise, observing your site, anyone else, for the mourner's Kaddish, it is on page 61. Yikadal, Yikash, Shemei Rabah, Ve'alman, Yivachirute, Ve'amlit Malchute, Ve'chayechon, V'yomechon, V'chayechon, Beit Yisrael, V'agalav, V'zman Kariv, V'imru, Yehei Shemei Rabban Horach, Ve'lam Homeo Maya, Yiparach, V'ishtabach, V'ipar, V'imam, V'naseh, V'itadar, V'itale, V'italal, Shmei L'Kudsha, V'rehu, La'ela, V'ikol, Berchata, V'shirata, Shulchata v'nechmata, Tamiran v'yama v'yibru. Yehi shlama rabba v'yishmaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yibru. Oseh shalom v'imroha, u'yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yibru. Amen. Zichronam livracha. May the memory of the people you've come to say Kaddish with be blessed. All right, some announcements. Tomorrow, services begin at 9:30. Renan Pincus becomes bar mitzvah. You'll be leading Torah service, Musaf service, giving the drash, chanting Torah, chanting Haftorah, and it will be followed by a delicious lunch, big kiddush lunch. There's mahjong also tomorrow after services, or after the lunch. And let's see, next Saturday, May 21st, Camille Edisis becomes bat mitzvah. And on Sunday, May 22nd, will be the TBA annual congregation meeting, and that is at 10 a.m. And there's also WTBA Lag BaOmer event that day at 2 p.m. And there's also the TBA film series discussion on Fanny's Journey at 7:30 p.m. That's on Sunday, May 20th. All on Sunday, May 22nd. And if you didn't have your fill with the controversial elections at the annual meeting, I'm kidding, there really no one ever runs, as always, but there are AZA elections at 12 p.m. in the chapel, although you can't go, but still, they're having them. Okay, we are moving our weekly 9 a.m. Torah study back to Paulista, which is the cafe on Park. It's been at Rocky's Brooklyn Basin, but they closed their cafe part, so we're back to Paulista. They have an unofficial outdoor area, not the official one you see. There's an unofficial one too, and that's where we're going to be for now. And so feel free to come, but if you order food, they can't bring it to you in the unofficial area. It's one of these Oakland ordinances, and I couldn't tell you anything more. I hope I just didn't get them in trouble. This is now on the record. I think that's there's Monday and Thursday Minyan, of course. We have just a few guests. So I got to meet Tom and Sky. Is that right? So they're going to wave and right there say welcome. Great to have you here. I hear Sky's a really good cook, but and Tom is sort of Israeli, so speak Hebrew. All right. Yes, please.
Paul Sandberg.
Paul Sandberg. Nice.
Yeah, my first time here, but I'm gonna keep coming back. I love it here.
Great. Are you new to the area, or?
No, I've been here for a long time. I just didn't know about this shul.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, great to have you. Thanks so much.
And I love the windows.
Well, thank you. For each of the holidays, designed by the great Victor Reese, one of the most prolific artists of the 1950s through 70s, who you've never heard of, but he did a lot of stuff. And yes, who's next to you, Michelle? Rebecca, nice to meet you. And you live locally too? All right, great to have you here. Thank you. Well, welcome. Well, welcome back to Norm and Jan on a long trip to Israel. See their grandchildren and children. Great to see you. And all right, that's kind of what we're going to conclude with an Israeli song because the Pinkases are Israeli. Now, this is what you call an old song, but not like, Chalutzin Zionist old. We're talking Arik Einstein old. It's Ani ve'ata, which means you and I will change the world. And it doesn't matter if people said it before, it didn't work. We're still going to do it. Which is kind of in keeping with the theme tonight. Can you run some of it exactly? So that's what we're going to do. And we started, I should tell you, with, and you didn't quite make it here, but Lechuna Ranana, in honor of Renan, right? It's the same word, Ranana, Renan. I don't have the words for you, though. A few of you do know them, though, I know. At least Karen knows them. Susan knows them. Do you know them? Odette, did you grow up with this song, or? Yeah. Yeah, that's it, yeah.
I'm not sure I know this melody, but I know.
Ani ve'ata nishaneh et ha'olam. Ani ve'ata az yavo kvar kulam. Amru et ze kodem lifanai ze lo mishaneh. Ani ve'ata nishaneh et ha'olam. Ani ve'ata nnaseh me'atchala. Yihye lanu ra, ein davar ze lo nora. Amru et ze kodem lifanai ze lo mishaneh. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And your first name again, Sam?